This is the Healey Brothers Show.
Welcome to Healey Brothers Pod. I appreciate it. We have Bob, Lori from Lincoln Tech, and then we have two of our service directors, John Paraggio and Bryan Gingold, and then my brother Dylan from Healey Brothers. So again, thank you guys for doing this. It means a lot to us, and what you guys do here really helps all dealers, not just us. So today our main focus is going to be on growing individuals into auto technicians. And we know trade jobs are hard to come by now, but you guys seem to figure out a little magic to make them alive. So before we get started, I just want to do a little introduction. If Bob, you just want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about you and Lincoln Tech, and then Lori just right after you.
Sure. My name is Robert Matarazzo. I'm a former Lincoln Tech graduate. I graduated Lincoln Tech probably, I don't know, I don't want to date myself, but many years ago. And Lincoln Tech gave me the opportunity to create my career. And that's I started out bang on hubcaps when hubcaps were still on vehicles. Now everything's got wheels on it. And I progressed to be an A-line tech, an A master tech, an ASE master tech. I went and I was a shop foreman, service advisor, assistant service manager, and now I'm back here where it all started from. So I'm a little like, I don't know if anybody's seen Forrest Gump. So I feel a little bit like Forrest Gump, went through the whole course of life, and now I'm back here where I started from.
Yeah, but that's a good story. But now you're back here giving it back.
Exactly. And that's my passion now. I want to give back to the students and to the company that gave me the opportunity to flourish. But, it's not only that. It's you know what? Today it's about persistence. It's about it's about being self-motivated, not, resting on your laurels. If you want to be a professional and the further you want to go, you can't look back. You got to keep always looking ahead. And, that's my philosophy to my students. Never be satisfied, because once you're satisfied, that's the end of your career. You go no further.
Yeah, I mean, we just did some training for everyone at our stores about having the right mindset and being accountable to create the right urgency. So
it was Dave Anderson. Yeah. You heard of Dave Anderson training?
Dave
Anderson, yeah. So we just had him in for our group, and
Motivational leadership.
What you just said, it sounded like you were just there.
Yeah.
So,
I thought you may have known it.
Yeah, that's been my philosophy my entire life. I mean, I grew up in the automotive industry. All right, I worked for General Motors. I worked for Nissan. I worked for a couple of different manufacturers in the course of 35 years. So I grew up, I started working on cars in my driveway when I was 12 years old. I had 3 cars before I was able to drive.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So,
The one thing you said that I took away, but you said in the beginning, Lincoln Tech gave you that opportunity for your career, right? And that's what I heard. That's what resonated with multiple students here, which was uplifting for me, because I said, well, why are you here? What brought you to Lincoln Tech? And the word career. So kudos to you, and because I'm sure you guys instilled that in them, that you're not here just to learn a skill set, you're here to build a career for yourself in the future. So it was exciting to hear that from multiple mouths.
Yeah. I and my instructors try to instill that in them. Anybody can get a job. Yeah. I can go out to McDonald's tomorrow and get a job, and that's what I tell my students. You can work as a greeter in Walmart. That's a job. You want a career? It starts here. There's only a few key turning points in everybody's life. And I try to emphasize to my students that this is one of those key turning points. Mm-hmm. It's what you're going to make, what path you choose to go down in your life. And, and this is not a job path. This is a career path. Yeah. And that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's impactful. Yeah.
And when we meet,
No, go ahead. Jump on.
When we meet with students from orientation on, I'll introduce them to career services, and I'll say exactly what you're saying is you're not just getting a job, it's a career. You have a career trajectory. So sometimes people might have another job that they're being paid more. Like we've had students that work at Amazon, UPS, and they might start at a higher salary if they're coming in at an auto, HVAC, any of our programs. Mm-hmm. But there's no trajectory. You're not growing. and you're not building a career. So that's what we instill the moment they start with us, and then as we work with them until they graduate. But I felt like that kind of tied in nicely with
Yeah, it did.
your
It
story.
did.
It's important once they graduate that wherever they start their career with, that they do the same thing. Because we have students that we've taken. I have one, a really great success story. He's worked for us for about 8 years. He's one of our top technicians. He went to a 2-year program, came out, and after about a year, he said he was going to leave. He was going to get $2 more an hour to go, I think it was like deliver nuts or something. It wasn't anything to do with the automotive industry. I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I asked him, I said, why are you leaving? Don't you realize that this is a career and you could probably double your income in the next 2 or 3 years if you continue at this? And he said he didn't know that. And I was like, how does he not know? And then I realized that I never told him. So since that day, at Healey Brothers, we do this 5-year learning path. We do one-on-one meetings every year with them. And we kind of plot out a trajectory over 5 years on if they specialize in transmissions and they become a master certified transmission tech, in 2 years they can earn this and they can make this much money. And then another tech maybe wants to be an EV tech and do electronics and diagnostic work, but same thing. So we started like cultivating that career path, and now we do it ever since then. But he was like he catapulted it, like he really made it happen because he was leaving. And now it's 8 years later, and it's a great story because he's still with one of the top guys in the shop.
Now, Lori, before we move on to the next section here, do you just want to give a little background on your job role here and tell us a little about what you do? Because, I mean, you work so easily with us and Nick to set this up, and this stuff is important to get your message out there to more people. So if you just want to tell a little about yourself.
So I am the director of career services here. I took over Nella Santangelo's job. I know you guys have worked very closely with her over the years. So my background isn't as fruitful as Bob's in the auto industry, but so I'm no stranger to Lincoln. I will be here for about 2 years. However, I worked with Bob several years ago, probably 9 years ago or so, in our education department for a couple of years. I did leave to pursue teaching. I was a special ed teacher, but that actually allowed me, when I came back to Lincoln, to really understand a lot of the students that I work with. Some of them maybe weren't set for college. They weren't set to be in a classroom, to be in an office setting. They needed to use their hands. I worked with students in all settings that were very low functioning, autistic spectrum to self-contained special ed, co-teach, you name it. And a lot of the students that I worked with, I know that they would benefit so highly being in a school like this because it's a hands-on setting. They don't have to worry about that test taking, they're reading, literature and all of that stuff, where they can really use and kind of grow with what they can do best. And it's that hands-on knowledge. So it was kind of nice to bring that back here because now I can see some of the students that I may have had and I'd be like, you would have done amazing in a setting like this.
That's great. That's good stuff right there. Yeah. Cultivate that.
So is it more an assessment of how well they're doing in the trade rather than a written test? I mean, we're just assessing them? Is that more important than the GPA?
So we assess, we still do tests and we do all of that stuff. Their transcripts, they will have a GPA and attendance percentage. And a lot of employers might look for a high GPA, but a lot of them say, I'm not going to look at the GPA. I want to look at the attendance. If I know you're showing up to school, you're showing up to work. You might not be book smart where you can retain that and be able to take a Scantron test or on the computer, but you can do the skill. So it really depends on the employer. Some want both, some want one or the other, but attendance is key.
It's on ours. On ours.
Yeah, well, ideally you want both, right? But I think John and I were laughing because I think the majority of the students I spoke to, I was
talked about attendance with every student.
with every student.
We try to instill that.
Important. You got to come to work.
Not just attendance, being on time.
Because you can't cultivate a GPA at our dealership if you're not there. So I mean, so GPA is irrelevant to me because we could teach you smarts, right? We could teach you how to utilize your hands and a skill set, but if you're not there, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Correct. If it's not, if they have no consideration of being punctual or not being in attendance, you're not paying them to watch them and mentor them to be there. You're paying them for the job skills. So, and that's what we try to instill here. When an employer hires you as a student, He's not looking to hire somebody he's got to chase and find. He expects you to be there. He expects you to be there early. And our philosophy is, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're late. All right. So it's, you know, it's what we try to, you know, it's some of the soft skills that we try to impress on them also. It's how to communicate. It's, you know, it's not just about the job skills or the job.
Foundation of life. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're turning wrenches or you're cashiering somebody. You still got to be there to cashier them, right? You still got to be there to bag their groceries. So if they can't give you that respect or themselves that respect, right? If you don't respect yourself enough, then really how are we supposed to invest in you?
Exactly.
And we do, aside from learning your program that you're here to study, career services specifically focuses on life and career skills. So we'll go in and do workshops with every student, and they have 4 throughout their time. So in orientation, we will start with our professional branding, which is how people see you, whether it's in person, virtually, that presence, because I think sometimes they realize what you post doesn't go away, and professionally, you look good. We do mock interviewing with them and workshops, job search strategies, and a resume workshop that we really dive deep into. But those, we try to instill those life and career skills where it's not, you're not learning about auto, you're not learning about HVAC, welding, you're learning about how to kind of go on that job interview, how to go beyond once you're done with school here.
That's great, because to be honest with you, I didn't know that. I didn't know you did. So you have a well-rounded program.
Yes.
Extremely well-rounded. It's not just turning wrenches, learning circuits, and so it's learning how to be an adult, right? How to get to work on time and how to follow through on commitments.
And even a lot of the students talk today about, like, I think it was they were doing like a workshop management class, I think, where they were learning like the business end of the automotive industry, not the technical side of it. And that was great. And they were talking about that today.
You know, they have to understand whether they work for somebody or they are in their own business, they have to understand how business works and why it's so important for them to be present. And, you know, and yeah, because it, you know, it falls upon if, and you know as well as I do, if you schedule X amount of work for the day, you're basing that schedule on the amount of technicians you have. So if one is out, that means all the others have to pick up the slack. And if they don't, what are you doing? You're disappointing your customers because your customers don't care whether or not you're down a person. So they have to understand that business sense too and why it's so important to be there.
That's what we were just talking about today is customer service is so important. If the more they can understand that is how important they are, that's the better customer service we can give them. Granted, they're not always seen by the customer, but it's so important for them to understand the quality of the work, the cleanliness of the work, and how they get it done every time.
Timeliness.
Goes a long way with the customer because they don't really care who's doing it. They want it to be done right, done perfect, and make sure it's back on the road and safe. So that's a big part of it. So now that we're turning the tide here a little bit, if you guys could just give us an overview of the Lincoln Tech Automotive, how the program is set up, how it works, the different parts of it, whether it's if you just get
so like the curriculum part of it. Yeah, sure. So all of our students, let's start out with the curriculum. It's all online based. It's all every student gets a laptop. Okay, and we have a program which was instituted, I guess, about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, called Electude. And as you can see, we are in what we call the Electude.
You need a little description of what this is.
Yes.
And I said, you will do a better job than
Sure, not a problem. I got this. So Electude is a curriculum and a program we brought over from the Netherlands. Okay, and we had it designed specifically for Lincoln. Okay, we start out with our introduction class, and that's our AUX 100 class, which is just teaching them about the very, very basics. How to set a lift up, tools, measurements, and then we progress. We progress into different classes. Okay, so the next class after intro could be basic electric, okay? Because electricity is the foundation of most cars today. Not only the mechanical, but it's everything is got electronics in it, everything. And we use this room for a couple of different classes. This, if you look over here, this tends to be there's some of our basic electric classes. And what it does is it takes the virtual that's on their laptop, and as you can see, these all have decks.
And Nikki, you'll show some footage of this in the video too for us. He'll put some video.
Okay, and you can see that they have schematics, electrical schematics built into them. So they'll get their virtual, and there'll be tests, and there'll be labs that correlate with the specific boards, and they have to actually build the circuits, diagnose the circuits, and this kind of makes the connection between the virtual and reality. I've got just about every system that you can think of.
So it's like mocked up system on a car. Correct. I see there's one there of like the ignition system, and I see a throttle pedal and a throttle body on the top. So it's mocking up that fuel and injection system on a car on a board that they could test it and study it and kind of...
Rather than have to go and bury themselves under a dashboard or try and disassemble something to actually see what's going on. And they can get the results in real time.
It's like a lab.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, we have lighting boards, we have fuel boards, we have emissions boards, all of these. And it gives them, we found that just the virtual, they don't make the connection. Now they make the connection when they actually have to do it.
Well, I will tell you, a lot of the students, when we would ask them, what got you here? What do you do? What do you enjoy most about the program? What are you getting out of the program? The hands-on. Or some of them were in a different automotive program prior to coming to Lincoln, and they had told me that the hands-on is much more superior than it was at a different curriculum they were in.
Yeah, and that's what
because they said
heads already spinning.
I learn with my hands, right? Most of them learn with their hands.
Yeah. Exactly. They're not. A lot of them. I mean, some of them are academically based, but most of our students, I'm going to say 80% of our students are vocational students. They won't do well in an academic environment, but this kind of combines
the gap.
It fills that gap, absolutely. Yeah. So we go on, and then we go on to do the mechanical end of it. Like we'll have steering and suspension class. We have a driveline class. We have a fuels class. We have what you mentioned before, the management class, because we try to make a well-rounded program for them, so they're not stifled in one area.
Also makes them more attractive to the employer. They're more well-known students. So,
sure. Now, what it does is, they don't become proficient, because don't forget, when they leave here, they're entry level, but this allows two things. This allows wherever they go, to whatever dealer they go to, it allows them to be molded to what they want. Yeah.
Like the specialty we were talking about. Yeah, so somebody must rear differential, or somebody may like steering and suspension. Correct. So now we've scratched the surface.
A lot of transmissions I was hearing today.
So you hit that spot, you scratch their itch a little bit, and then now they can go into a dealership, and then like John and I were talking with them, is like, we could throw that curriculum at you with a mentor. Sure. Right? Because you seem to be engaged with transmissions, right?
Everybody's got that little niche on what they like and what intrigues.
Something more dirty, right? Something like
Exactly.
Well, we talked about the benefits to them about being a specialist, because if you're a specialist, that means you have an extremely well talent in one area. And that makes you more valuable to me, because I know if you're the transmission expert, if I get a car that comes in tomorrow for the transmissions, rest assured, I know I give it to you, you're going to fix that transmission, it's going to get done right. And that makes you more valuable to me. So job security, career advancement, earning potential, you're going to earn more, and you're going to be more valuable to me if you're a specialist. So there was a lot of conversation about, and not being a specialist just in one area. Some guys wanted 2 or 3. A couple of guys said they did want to become the master technician in that, specializes and could do everything on a car. But most of them like that. They understood that would be maybe 10 or 15 years down in their career, right? You achieved it, right? But not your first year coming out of trade school. But they all left our group when they talked with us with encouragement that they can come out of trade school and right out of the gate start to become a specialist in whatever area they're interested in. Whether some guys like the electrics and the EVs, A lot of kids didn't like.
They didn't want EV.
They wanted nothing to do with.
We're not all EVing yet.
Yeah, they didn't want it. But some of them were engaged in that. But it was good to see that they like that they can come right out and become a specialist in something right out of the gate.
You're gonna need some more EV guys. We're on a heater. We're selling EVs right now at the Chevy store.
Yep.
No, what was the one kid saying to you? He was so engaged with what Healey did. What was it? He was asking.
I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was the one that drives manual, Matthew.
He was asking you to sell to yeah.
He was very passionate. Loved manual transmissions. You know, as a young kid, you don't see, my age, you don't see many people that could drive manuals. Was very passionate about. He changed the clutch. He does his own, services for his family, himself. So, and he lives right here in Mawa, so it's not too far from us. Yeah. We had a lot of success with a lot of people that were actually in our neck of the woods.
I mean, some guys were asking you to sell Healey Brothers to him, right?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. Somebody came up to me. He was kind of like, "Sell me. Why should I work for you?" And I loved it. I jumped right in. I said, "Are you ready to fill this out now?" After I went through my pitch, he was one of those pens. So I think I sold him a little bit, but it's easy when your name's on the building.
So, can you tell me a little about the certifications you can get here for a student coming out? Like, what kind of certifications can you get, say, coming to a dealer and you can leave with?
Sure. So we do ASE testing here twice a year. This is a actual ASE testing facility. Twice a year, we work with ASE and NATAF, and we provide tests, the professional level tests that the technicians can take here twice a year, so they can gain an ASE certification. They can gain as many as they want. I encourage them only to take one or two at a time, because as I am ASE certified, I've been there for 30 some years. I know how difficult it can be and how daunting it can be for them to take a test, especially a professional certification test. So they get kind of intimidated, but we do offer that and they can take them. I've had some students roll out of here with 8 certifications, all 8 certifications.
They're tough.
They're not easy, not at all. And now they've gotten more complicated because, they've progressed from when, I guess, back when you and I took them with the Scantrons and the dots at 11 o'clock.
Number 2 pencil.
Yeah, right? No, they've progressed. They've come into the modern age, and it's the composite car has changed. It's more well-rounded and has more diverse test questions. And in general, being that these are professional grade tests, we usually have about a 40%, 33 to 40% pass rate, but it's okay because even if they don't pass, I encourage them to take it because it gives them exposure to the test. They can get that. We have some manufacturer programs that are free to them that they can get.
Can you touch on some of those and what some of those are like?
Sure. We have a Mazda program that it's self-led, all right? They can get what they call Mazda Senior Certification, and then they can go right out into the field, and they can be what they call Senior Certified. We send, after they do the self-taught, self-led curriculum, if they complete it, they can go down to their training facility and for a week and do all the labs and all the hands-on and become senior certified in Mazda. We have a Toyota program, same deal. We have.
I always see the Mopar.
Yeah.
I always see the Mopar.
Yes, Mopar. Yeah. Now Mopar is going to be. We have to get it reaccredited by the state, but it's going to be a postgraduate type program. So what they do in Mopar is they'll go through our 15-week program, and it equates to 3 years at the dealership worth of training. Yeah, so it's a very accelerated program. It gets them familiar with the product, and there's certain assessments that they have to take. to get over this, especially the electrical assessment, which is very difficult for technicians to take and very difficult for them to pass. So with our what's going to be 15-week program and postgraduate, they will get that benefit. All right, and we're planning on starting that around September.
Now, what is the manufacturer's contribution towards this? Do they assist in any way, or help the student, or help Lincoln at all?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
absolutely.
program dependent.
I mean, aside from curriculum, I mean, do they help in any other way?
Stellantis has a total buy-in with us. I mean, they supply us vehicles, they supply us equipment, they supply us with all kinds of engines, transmissions, all kinds of fixtures, and they've been very generous. And recently we discontinued the program, but now we're going to re-implement it as a postgraduate type program.
So that's something new that you're starting in September, that postgraduate?
Yes. We had to disband it last year because of the Gainful Employment Act, and now we're going to re-implement the program. So as a
postgraduate, I think that sounds like a great opportunity for them, because then when you're saying postgraduate, so they're still spending their generalized training they're getting throughout the whole Lincoln program.
Yes.
And then they're getting this 15-week specialized to really get them a jump start.
Yes.
Going into a Chrysler dealership.
Yes.
they'll
Once we get
fully
state
get their
approval,
cert.
we'll start to do this. We haven't gotten the state approval again yet, but we will, definitely.
So it sounds like you offer everything for everyone that's whatever they're interested in. Also, you have the special certification, you get them ready. So let's talk about how you partner with dealers. How do you really prepare them? I know we chatted about it a little bit, getting them ready to jump into the workforce. So are you helping them with job placement, saying, hey, these dealers are good? Like, how is that working when you're starting to place them and I'm sure they're asking you guys a lot for help, like, hey, what do you guys think about this and all that? So how does that go down? How do you guys really get them ready?
Pretty much the nuts and bolts of my whole department. So right now, we work with students from the moment they start in orientation to their graduation and beyond. So just because they graduate doesn't mean that they don't get our career support as well. So when we are working with them as a student, we're doing our workshops, getting them ready for the field. And then we kind of work with them a 30, 60, 90 day out. That's before their grad date. So about 90 days out, we make sure that their resumes are fully completed, if they took any certs, if they've changed jobs, if they need to gain or add any skill sets to their resume, they're good. Then we cultivate a wish list from them. So I'll be like, if I can give you your dream job, where would it be? Who would you want to work with? What type of company would you want to be at? And then from there, we'll try to place them and assist them. So I can never guarantee placement, but we assist as much as we possibly can. So we have a lot of partnerships, like with you guys and many other dealers as well, that will reach out to us and say, hey, here's my job order. I'm looking for 3 service techs. I'm looking for an express tech, whatever your need is. And then we try to fill those job orders that we get. In the event that maybe a company or a place I don't have that job order in the moment, we do a lot of cold calling too. So we might call you up and say, hey, I have this amazing student. He has great grades, GPA. He's looking to work with you. Can I bring him down? Can he come and interview with you? So we try to attack it both ways. So sometimes we get job orders in that we may not be able to fulfill because the need is so great. Which I wish I had more candidates to send out, but we try to do it both ways, where if you guys send us a job order, or we'll actively go and look for it. If they aren't working after they graduate, we maintain contact with them. So we weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, depending on the student and our relationship, we'll check in to see if they've been interviewing, any updates on interviews, or anytime I get a job that might work for their location or what they're interested in, we'll do that outreach to them. So they have that constant support from the moment they start till beyond.
So since demand's so high, your phone probably doesn't stop ringing all day?
Yes, we have
Ask, what's the discrepancy that you're seeing right now compared to, dealers, mom and pops, independents reaching out for candidates compared to the actual applicants that you have to send them? Is there a lot more people with a lot more job openings than you have people to send?
Yeah. Right now, there is a shortage of automotive techs, which I'm sure you guys probably see all the time.
Another reason why we're here.
Exactly. And so I have a lot of dealers, mom and pop, private places that sometimes I can't even send a candidate because I may not have somebody in that area, or that might not be interested in that position but want a different one. So that does happen a lot. So anytime I can fill a position with somebody who gives me a call and says I'm looking to fill it, is the best.
So you call it like a job order. So if we eat a job order, because we talked to a lot of students today, and we spoke to people geographically, they're not within striking distance of our dealership, so to speak, but how many of them said, I'd be willing to drive? I don't care, I'm just looking for a job. Yeah, right. And you go back a couple of years ago, we couldn't get anybody to commit to even come visit the store, let alone drive there for a career.
Right.
So I've seen a turnaround. So it's good that they've got the mindset of, job placement's key, right? And most of the things we tell them is, even if you want to do an internship, John and I talked to them, you want to work one day, a Saturday, maybe after school. Once you graduate, you got job placement. Don't wait for graduation day, because then you're going to spin your wheels for months and you may just wind up with a job that you dislike. Start looking for a job that you love now, that then eventually it's job placement. You just roll your toolbox into a shop once you graduate.
And a lot of students too, when they first start the program, they want to jump right into the field. And I'll say a lot of times, if you're looking for a specific dealer, they may not take you if you're 2 classes in because you don't have enough background knowledge. However, I've seen people get hired as a valet or something that maybe they can stay within that dealer, and then as they progress, they can grow.
And we love to do that, by the way. So.
Yeah. There's a success story every day in our group of somebody that we've moved along. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got some real success stories. You speak about valet. So, we shared, some of the great stories we have. But I had a guy valet, parking cars part-time while he was in a warehouse working. He's a senior master Ford technician as of 3 months ago. Yeah, so those are great stories. I mean, so the opportunities are there. Even if, you have a student now that says, I asked a couple, what do you want to do? I don't know. Do you want to turn wrenches? I don't know. I like cars. There's other opportunities. There's parts, there's sales, there's service. I mean, if you love being around cars and you love the automotive, that type of work, and then we've had people shuffle through the deck, right? Start parking cars, fixing cars, maybe delivering cars, so there's ample opportunity for everybody out there to be in it.
I mean, there's a success story right here, technician to service director right there. So he's seen it all the way through. So absolutely. You don't have to continue to wrench.
You could be service advisor. You could be a shop foreman. There's many avenues you can go to once you learn the automotive field.
And a technician to a service advisor, from what I've seen, you want to talk about selling work. There's nothing better than selling work. You almost see, it really is. It's almost like they know too much when they overwhelm a customer to they were like, okay.
It makes their job that much easier when they understand the vehicle and it's like.
Absolutely. You know what you're speaking on.
And a lot of people today are very savvy about their vehicles. So if they know that you understand and you know the vehicle, they're more apt to believe you and trust. And that's the main thing when you're dealing with service customers, is gaining their trust.
1,000%.
Just about everything.
I think we just did one the other day like that, right?
You have to have a percentage of students that maybe lost their way a little bit or lost their drive for it. We had a lot of conversations with students. We both shared our personal cell phones with them and said, hey, even with students that didn't live geographically by us or weren't interested in the Healey group, but we said, hey, we dedicated some time on our way to work and from work. My car ride home, I said, if you guys text me during the day and say, hey, it's Bill, we met at Lincoln Tech, you got time for a call? Both of us said we would call them on our way home that night and just see if they need a little bit of advice or a little bit of encouragement, because maybe a lot of it is they know what they want to do, but they need that little nudge or that little push to get up and go do it.
My job is here, essentially, all right? My door is always open to my students, any of my students in every discipline, not only my own. And I tell them, and my instructors know, that if they have a student that is struggling for some reason, if they can't get a hold of them, if they can't reach them, they'll send them to me. and I'll talk to them, and I will reach out to them and, and question them. Hey, what's going on? What's the matter? Why aren't you attending? What's holding you up? And my job is to make them successful and make them want to continue the program. So I'm kind of like a counselor also, and they need that sometimes. Absolutely.
And even
absolutely.
when they come to me, where they might be fully ready to graduate, they have amazing grades, amazing attendance, but they don't have that confidence, or they don't feel like they're ready, even though they have it all. And we kind of counsel them as well in a sense, because we have to kind of build their confidence up, where you know the skills, you know your ability, you just have to know how to communicate it. Even today, I had one student who I saw him standing, kind of like aimlessly looking around, and I said, "Oh, who have you spoken to yet?" And he goes, "Nobody. I've been here like 5-10 minutes." He's like, "I'm really nervous." And I said, "Why nervous? It's okay." I was like, "Come with me." And I was like, introduce yourself, just say, "Hi, my name is," and then tell me about yourself. And just getting the confidence to do that is huge.
Yeah, it's the first step. I mentioned to a lot of them, I said, let me ask you a question. What got you here? Why did you come to Lincoln Tech? What got you here? And then when they tell me the story, I'm like, that's step one. Step two is once you complete this, then you move on in your career. So you already made the big step. That's the biggest step is getting here. Second step is getting to a dealership, right? That's what you all want. And it seems like most are agreeing. They all have that focus, the focus of that career, which is huge. So, and like John said, the door's always open. Scan me QR code, call me, email me, come in. I invite them in. Come to one of our stores. We'll give you a tour of the facility. There's no strings attached. Just come in and we'll walk you around from sales to service. We'll show you the shop. We'll introduce some technicians just to get them like a warm up.
Brian's got a great way of he lets his technicians interview the applicants so they're more comfortable. He talks to them for a few minutes.
And then I
And he
abandon.
brings one of the techs in and he goes, "Here, you guys have a conversation so you really understand what it's like to come work for us."
Yeah, last year we brought Victor. I thought that worked really well. They all felt so comfortable talking to him. And that's, we got to remember to bring one next year.
Yeah, what's funny about our social media is that oftentimes our most clicks, our most views come from service, come from
Our
technology.
videos. Yeah, if you watch them.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Nikki does them actually all the time. So
Yeah.
So if you ever go and watch them, they're fun. They talk about their favorite car. They become more of a person. The consumer seems to like it, and obviously all the people that are intrigued with cars or work on cars, they're engaging with them and they're putting their own comments on it, whether they're good or bad. But it's still
It's all organic with those guys too, because they're not used to, and when we call upon them to talk, they like that because they're usually behind the scenes, right? Technicians are like parts guys. Nobody talks to them. Nobody sees them.
It's like a myth that happens back there.
yeah.
It's like you just bring my car.
And another day they want to be noticed. Another day they're giving us a hard time because we want to do a whole article about all the master technicians at our store. And now they're giving us a hard time about their picture.
Don't take pictures of me. Yeah, every single one.
like,
Don't
what do
take
you
a
guys
picture of me.
I tell you a little funny story real quick. We used to have that back in when I worked for Cadillac when I was a technician, and we had Mr. Goodwrench. And he was a sign. I don't know if you remember Mr. Goodwrench.
He's a good-looking guy in his uniform. His hair was perfect. Shirt was tucked in.
Stud.
And when the techs didn't want to talk to a customer, they'd put Mr. Goodwrench up there. Here, talk to him. Oh, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. But that's it. They get intimidated by it, and they're like, no, you talk to Mr. Goodwrench. He's in the window. We had him sitting by the window, and some people would just walk up and start talking to him. They wouldn't even know he wasn't real. They just start talking to him.
So now to turn to our side a little bit, I want to hear from you guys, talking about a little bit partnership with Lincoln Tech and also what you guys are doing, what you're looking for when you're going to hire a new technician. I know you guys have slightly your different things, but overall we're pretty similar in what we look for and what we strive for out of us.
Yeah, I mean, overall, John and I have the same core values, right? We look for the same thing, right? It's the attendance, right? The core values from the individual, what they want to do, where they want to go, right? Because we spend a lot of time of trying to cultivate young talent. And then we also ask our talent at the dealership to try to mentor. Like I'm big into the mentor-mentee program, right? And I mentioned to the kids, and we believe in that. But they've got to put their part in, right? If we're going to invest in you, invest in us, right? Respect the mentor that you're going to work with. Because our goal is, in 5 years, when 3 more techs retire, we're going to need to replace that.
Right.
In 10 more years, we're going to need to replace more. So there's nothing like cultivating your own, like our farm system. I treat it like sports, right? It's our farm system. So eventually you want all of them to be up in the major leagues. So we just asked them to put that effort in there. We invest in them. So we pay for training, right? We pay we have tool programs. John could elaborate more on. So we love to invest in it. We just want to see that they put that effort in there and they're giving back, right? Because it's a two-way street. We'll give you the career, we'll give you all the tools, but it's a two-way street. And if you show that initiative and drive and you put that effort in there, then the sky's the limit, because we've had some technicians that have started entry level and they're doing phenomenal for themselves. They're great people, they're great mentors, husbands, fathers. Most importantly, they're great skilled individuals that do a phenomenal job for us, and we embrace that.
The mentorships are great, and the people we have doing them, our lead techs that run those mentorships, they love giving back to the young guys. We have a tech that works for us now. We just bought one of those like $20,000 toolboxes, right? Probably financed it for 10 years. But his old toolbox was still in great shape. This big, huge Matco toolbox, probably still worth in trade-in value, probably $5,000 or $10,000. He gave it to his apprentice. That's how much he likes working with his apprentice and being able to, I mean, a little bit of it, you get to both, because I know this and I can show it. And, but they really do enjoy the program, and we get something out of it too, because those guys now are becoming our leaders as they get to have apprentices underneath them, and they really start stepping up to the next level and start leading the shop.
Right. And the apprentices build up that relationship with their mentor, and you end up with a better technician, because now he respects that mentor and he respects his opinion. So yeah, that's.
We offer tool assistance programs. We talked to a lot of your students today that didn't have tools. We buy them a $10,000 or $12,000 Snap-on toolbox with tools, and we just signed a 3-year agreement with them. We have a 3-month review. So after 3 months, the first 3 months, we only grade them on, Bryan will like this, it's attendance is number one, right? And then we grade them on teamwork and how they are, if they're honest and trustworthy. And that's it. That's all they got to do for the first 3 months. We don't care if they know how to work on a car or do an alignment or anything. And at the 3-month mark, if they prove to us that they're a good employee, then we're going to invest in them, and then we're going to offer them a manufacturer's training path in a specialized area. And then we let them pick the color of the toolbox, the color of the tools that go in it, because that's a big thing now. You know, if you like green, it's got to be a green toolbox, got a green screwdriver. So they get to pick that, and their commitment to us is just that they'll take care of the tools. And if they lose them, they let us know something is lost or broken, and they take care of them. And then after 3 years, we hand them the second key to the toolbox, and it's theirs. We wash our hands of it. So,
Got a job application?
a lot of the students, they went right for that QR code. So,
But those are little things that go a long way, and that just shows not just at all our Healey stores, we're trying to do something different to attract the best talent. And I think these are some things that these guys have put together and worked hard to get the best talent, and also just not the best, but keeping them.
I was going to say, retaining them is key, because anybody could start, but you want to keep them.
And I think the key is that, we spend a lot of time to try and coach just because you have senior technicians that are good at what they do, they're not always good mentors, right? Correct. Or they don't always have the patience. But you pick and choose the guys, and I would say the majority of our guys, once we sit and talk to them and tell them the importance of it, right? Because, we're a team, right? You're not going to watch somebody struggle. They've embraced it, and they'll come to me and go, listen, this guy needs to, we got to mentor that guy a little bit more. I'm going to work with him because maybe he's just not doing X, Y, or Z the way I think he should be doing it to meet our culture. So I embrace that. I love that, because it doesn't have to come from John or myself.
yeah.
Or any of the other managers. We could feel free that, they're going to run the shop, and they're going to take pride in what they do, and they're going to make sure the young talent obtains, it rubs off, and they obtain talent at some point, right? The growth process isn't meant.
Just like if someone's a cancer, it rubs off on everyone else too. So it's very important.
One of our lead techs, Tim Stelz, he worked with us. He just retired a few years ago. But whenever we put an apprentice underneath him, they called it Tim's boot camp. Like, you were under Tim. Tim was going to show you the way. But this guy got an award for General Motors because he went above and beyond. And he used to have training classes at his own house. He had a garage set up his house. He built race cars. He had training classes for the young guys, and he'd bring them, and he'd have a curriculum made out, and he'd have a subject where today we were going to rebuild a differential on a car. And he'd have the differential there, the parts to do it. He'd have some written, he'd have desks set up, he'd have a little classroom session. And he did this on his own time on the weekends in his own house.
It's commitment.
with the young
It's
guys.
impactful. Yeah, that's definitely a commitment.
Yeah, without it.
So a little shout out to Tim Stelz.
Yeah. And one of our best techs, I think, in the whole organization. He was a graduate of Lincoln Tech probably 20 years ago. Walked in with a little Craftsman toolbox and hired him as an apprentice, and probably one of the best techs we have.
Got married and even moved all the way up by us and still works for us today.
Wow.
Should be on
that's
our
great.
alumni board.
That's right. He should be. I think he should be.
I'll bring him down tonight. Actually, he should be here the next.
He just had his daughter or son.
He graduated from this campus.
I believe it was this camp. I'm pretty sure, but I know it was Lincoln Tech. I just don't remember. But yeah, I'll speak to him because I'd like to bring him down here.
And even when you guys come to campus, when you bring a tech or somebody that is worked for you that's an alumni here, whether it's 1, 2, 5, 10 years in the making of it, it goes so far because the students feel like they can ask them.
This could be me, right? That's my future.
Right, I can make it. Yeah, I could do this.
I could be that guy.
And every time we have an employer, no matter what discipline, if they bring somebody, let's say they want to present to the class because they have jobs they want to fill. Yeah, they'll listen and they might be interested and people will work there. But once they bring that person that was an alumni, it goes so much further.
Sure.
So
That's one of my first speeches to any of my intro classes. You could be me.
yeah, exactly.
You could be me. You know, in another 15, 20 years, you could be me. Because I'm not going to be here forever. But, you know, you could be me.
You're fulfilling your passion, so it's like like we said, the full circle.
Yeah.
So you're still in the field and immersed to just another side of it.
Yeah.
And then just to wrap this up here, just a couple questions for you guys. What advice would you give to someone outside this looking to do a trade job, become an automotive technician? What would you say to them? They're not sure what they want to do with their career, but what would you say to that person?
I guess I would probably tell them if they have no idea what they want to do, listen, come here, sit in the class, sit in one of my classes. I'll let you sit in the class, any class you like for the day, and see if you like it. If you like it, if you think it's for you, come on into the program. And what we offer too is, listen, we have multiple trades here. So if automotive is not for you, if you get here and it's not for you, you can transfer into a different program. You're not stuck in this program. But I'm going to, I'm biased to the automotive program, obviously.
We appreciate that.
So, if you can actually make a very fulfilling life.
And living as well.
Exactly. In automotive.
That people thought, like, as an automotive technician, some don't think you make a good, but you can make a phenomenal living.
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
It's all about, part of it is strategy, right? You got to strategize on how to be the best in your field. And then that being a specialist, we drove that home today, be a specialist and expert, you're more valuable.
You have to have the want, right? Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy.
Got to have drive.
I interviewed a BOCES student years ago, and his parents came, and I welcomed the parents in so we could all talk because, I think it's essential for the parents to understand the curriculum and what we have to offer. And the mom said, I really don't want my kid to be a grease monkey. And I'm like, whoa.
See, that's where
The husband looked over and looked at me and looked at her and said, we don't use that.
He's a perfect opportunity for the EV tech.
Yeah.
Right? No grease involved, right? Rest assured, Mom, it's fully electric.
where you have to educate the parents, because 50 years ago, 40 years ago, yeah, you could say you were a grease monkey. Today, you're not a grease monkey. Today, you're nothing except an automotive technician, because you need, people used to take automotive in high school and stuff because they thought it's an easy class. It's simple. I can get through it. It's not simple anymore. You just look around you, and it's a very technical field, and you have to have smarts. You can't just have it in your hands. You have to have something up here.
Yeah, the type of kids getting in the industry now, the younger generations getting in, they're not like when me and you got in. Correct. We were working on our own cars. I was working on dirt bikes and mini bikes, and these kids never even worked on anything before, but they're really smart. They understand computers, they understand logic, and they could figure out these problems on these cars, because like you said, all the systems have electronics, better than I could, you know, when I was in the top of my field. And that's who we're really getting into they're not someone who is like what you'd say.
They understand technology as well.
They understand technology, and a lot of them don't even have the passion for the car. You know,
I'm going to take a video of this room before I leave. So when I get a service complaint, I'm going to say, here's all the electrical systems in the cars. These things are not easy to work.
I think the key is you've got to be an electrician, right? You got to be a technician, right? Because I did explain to that parent that, you know, they work on laptops a lot of times. They don't have wrenches in their hands. Sometimes they're typing and they're scanning things. I mean, no different than you go to a lab technician in you know, a Crystal Run or one of the. So there's a lot more to it, right? Yeah. There's a lot more to it. It's not just turning a wrench or using a tool. Sometimes this is their tool.
That's it. I tell them that you're going to spend 3/4 of your time on the laptop or on the computer or looking through service information and diagnosing, and 1/4 of the time making a repair, actually working on the vehicle. That's going to tell you that you're a good technician, because you're just not going to start tearing the car apart and start replacing parts, because then you're just a parts changer. I said, you know, I tell them that you need to be kind of a detective today. You know the system, you have to source the information, and that's one of the most important things today. Is there a technical bulletin? Is there a recall that needs to be done? But before you start, look up the vehicle history. Has somebody been in there before? You know, all of these things before you even go to the vehicle.
The answer could be right in front of you.
Exactly.
I thought that's a phenomenal point. That might be the best clip that we had today. Yeah, that was awesome.
A lot of vehicles.
It's so true. It's so true.
How many vehicles are just fixed with a software update anymore?
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
I really appreciate everything. Is there anything else you guys want to add to any of your students, or anything you want to say for hire or anything like that?
Me, just that it was a great day.
It was a
great group of students.
And keep on doing what you're doing. It's such a needed profession, and they're so important to our dealership success. Like, we rely on technicians. They're the ones that keep people coming back to buy cars. So without them, we can't operate.
We counted. How many do we have? About 150, 160 technicians.
So we calculated.
Yeah. And I think
we need to harness the passion, and I saw a lot of passion today, more than I've seen in the past, to be honest with you. It was exciting for us, right, to see the feedback that we were getting, and just how they elaborated on the conversation. They stood there and they wanted to have conversation with us.
Yes. That's phenomenal for us to hear.
I mean, I had some really good conversations. I know I looked over my shoulder, John, like we all had somebody or a group of people we were talking to that asked questions. It was phenomenal. It really,
You could feel the energy on the floor. And everybody was, the energy was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking to some
People that were graduating in a month or two, and even people had excitement that weren't graduating until
I had one
September.
graduating next week.
Right.
Next week, he's gonna text us and let us know when he can come visit one of our stores.
I thought you were driving him home with you today.
yeah.
Probably waiting for me. He's waiting for me.
That was Steven.
He went home with Ben.
Thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming, and thank you for this. This is phenomenal. We're happy. We're glad to hear the feedback.
Yeah.
You know.
And continue the partnership. It's
Yeah, definitely. We'll send you. What was it called?
a job order.
Job order. I like that. I'm going to use that.
Well, job order, we're going to rig it so it's Healey Brothers at top all the time.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.